In this video, I'm going to show you how to change the size of your brush. Now, we're going to be using a regular paintbrush for this, but what I'm about to show you works with any of the brushes that are over here, or any of the tools. It works for the clone stamp, it works for blur, anything at all that requires a brush size. So, I've got my paintbrush selected over here, and the color we're going to be working with is purple, or kind of a pinkish. I'm showing you that color because it's going to be a little bit easier to see. And what we want to look at are these options up at the top of the screen. All right, specifically this one right here. You can see it says 100, and it kind of looks like a blurry circle. And that's really important to know. So if I click on that little drop down arrow, you're going to see several different options here. You're going to see that you can change the size of the brush right here by clicking and dragging that number left or right. You can change the hardness right there. So if it's at 100% hard, that means it's going to have a solid line on the edge. If it's 0% hard, that means it's going to be really, really soft, or it's going to be a feathered edge. You're also going to see that you can change the size of the dimension of the brush. So right now it's completely round. If you want to make it more oval, you'll simply click on one of those little dots and squish it, and now it's going to be more of an oval. In fact, you can even change the direction that it's going to go by clicking on that arrow and moving it around. That's actually a newer feature here in the Creative Cloud suite, so if you're using an older version of Photoshop, you're not going to see that. I'm going to go ahead and leave it as a round brush, and I want to point out some of these other brushes that you're going to see down here at the bottom. And in fact, I'm going to make that wider so that I can see everything. So if I click on the bottom right corner and simply drag out, you'll start to see that I can now see more and more of these brushes. All right, we've got all sorts of different things in here. We've got these more natural bristle brushes that we can work with. We've got these kind of splatter effects that we can work with. And I highly recommend that you take the time to go through and just play with these different options or these different brushes that you have. In fact, if you want, you can also go through and click on this little gear, and you'll see you have all these other preset brushes that you can work with. So let's say I want to add those in there. I could go down to assorted brushes, click on that, and simply click append. And now you're going to see all these additional brushes that are on there. All right, if I want more than that, I go back to the next one, go to basic brushes, append, and I get more and more and more as I go through. So that's kind of a handy thing to know. There's also brush presets, and we'll get into that here in just a moment. And you can even adjust your brushes even more than what comes preset. I'm going to go back to this basic brush right here, and you can see that it's a size 24. And I do want to go ahead and show you the difference between that hard edge and the soft edge. So as the hardness is 100, let me go ahead and move that up so you can see it a little bit easier. So with that hardness of 100, if I come over here and paint, you can see that it gives me that hard edge. If I drop that down to 0 and I do the exact same paint, you can see I get that soft edge. Now here's another really interesting thing, and in fact, this is probably the most common shortcut that you're going to use in Photoshop. You can actually adjust the size of your brush head with the bracket keys that are on your keyboard. There's tons and tons and tons of shortcuts that you'll learn as you go through Photoshop just to make things a little bit faster, but this is one that you really need to know from the get-go. So the bracket keys, I've got a little picture here, is just up and to the left of the enter key. All right. And if you press the bracket key on the right, the close bracket, it's going to make your brush bigger. All right. If you press the one on the left, open bracket, it's going to make it smaller. All right. That's a really, really handy shortcut to keep in mind. So here's the other thing that I wanted to show you. I said that we were going to talk a little bit about the brush presets, and I want to go ahead and show you that. Actually, before we get into that, I want to show you some of these other fun brushes that you'll probably want to play with a little bit. And again, if you take nothing else out of this, you need to make sure that you understand that with Photoshop, it's such a massive program. The best way of learning it is to simply look up whatever you're looking for on Google. If you want to know how to create something, just Google it. I guarantee there's going to be a tutorial out there that tells you how to do it. Photoshop's just a huge program. The more you play with it, the more you're going to learn, the more you're going to get involved in it. You're really going to enjoy it. So what I want to show you here is going to be this grass. I always think the grass is kind of interesting. So you'll see, and let me make it a little bit bigger here. You'll see that as I start to paint, it changes colors and direction. All right, and that's all done in that preset. You could actually make this brush using your presets. So I don't have my preset open. I'm going to show you how to do that. So if I click on Window at the top, I'll go down to Brush Presets, and you'll see it kind of pop up over here on the left. Now the brush presets will also show you generally what the brush is going to look like as you start painting it out. You can also go through, you can find those same presets and everything that we found before in the brush menu. You can find all those here. So you could actually append and add and everything else through here. If I wanted to close that preset back in, I simply hit that arrow key and it will allow it to go back in. So what we actually want to look for in here, you'll see brush preset, and then you'll see brush right here next to it. You've got all sorts of different things that you can play with in here. Again, I would recommend that you just take the time, go through, start playing with them, seeing what they do, because you can do really, really interesting things. You've got shape dynamics here. That's going to change what size it is, what angle it's going to be at. You've got scattering. That's going to tell you how much it's going to jump all over the page. You've got textures that you can add into there. If you want to have two different brushes combined together, that's actually kind of interesting because you can have one as just a standard brush and then one that's going to do an overlay color on top of it. You've got color dynamics. You've got transfer. Really all sorts of different things. So again, feel free to come in here, play around at some point, and just kind of see what they do, how they work, all of that kind of stuff, because you'll find all sorts of interesting things. In fact, a lot of the tutorials that you look up, they're gonna tell you how to create a specific brush. Additionally, one other thing that I guess I should point out, you can also download brushes. If you go to the internet and you're looking for a specific brush, you can actually download a brush and you can simply add it in here. Now, I will tell you this, and this is important to know, just like you have copyright rules and copyright laws for images, and we definitely want to make sure we don't steal anybody's image and put it out there for production or for commercial purposes. Same thing with brushes. There's people out there that make a living creating specific brushes, and if you use it and get paid for whatever the project is that you've used it for, if they find out, you could end up in a lawsuit. So you definitely don't want that. You always want to make sure you read all the information that they give you when you download it. There's going to be a little text file that says, hey, yeah, you can use this for whatever you want. You can get paid, or you can use it, but you can't get paid, or you need to pay me if you want to use it. So make sure you're really careful with what it is you're doing and what the legalities are of it.